Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles, a great millstone that taught us his truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful elect that's out there listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom. So this article just came out. It says the public will become very rich. Trump wants Americans to get a cut of AI profits, and some big tech CEOs are on board. Okay, and this is very reminiscent of when Elon Musk promised everybody. He said, when we get universal high income, everybody can have a penthouse if they want. We're going to have so much riches and extra money left over because AI is going to create all this wealth. Okay, and now they're starting to talk about the profits that AI are creating, and they're saying they want to share it with the peasants. Okay, they're saying they want to share it with the people. Okay, and we know this is all a scheme. This is all a plot. This is all a plan, man. 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, right? Satan being Esau, for we are not ignorant of his devices, of his schemes, his plots, his plans. Okay, we read the scriptures, man. We know this devil is going to try to mandate a chip for buying and selling. Okay, and what better way to do it than through free money, right? As long as you get this chip. Free money, as long as you do what we say. You see, because there's coming a time very soon that you won't be able to have a job, whether you want to or not. Okay, right now, people are working 2 or 3 jobs to be broke, just to have nothing, just to have maybe a few $100s in their bank account, depending on where you live and how good you are with saving and, not spending. All right, but either way, it's a miserable system. All right, and it's the perfect setup, man. It's the perfect setup for the MOTB. Okay, and it's all a trick, man. It's not about, oh, well, see, the problem was that, we just didn't have enough people working to produce, but now they're producing more. It's like, nah, bro. There's the haves and the have-nots. That's the way this system is set up. That's what capitalism is. Okay, Esau, Edom being that covetous man. Okay, but we're gonna get into this scripture real quick. This is it says, as the AI boom rages on, President Trump continues to muse about the U.S. government partnering with the AI industry so that Americans can get a piece of the action. When speaking with reporters gathered in the Oval Office, Trump recently said he plans to meet with the AI industry's top 10 or 15 executives to talk about giving back something to the public, the New York Times One reports. If we do that, the public will become very rich. Must read. Robert Kiyosaki says this one asset will surge. Wait a second. I think that's a whole nother article. So lucky for that. It says the White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment from MoneyWise, on which AI executives are expected to attend. It's the second time in a week that Trump suggested designing a way for Americans to directly benefit from the explosion in AI-related spending among U.S. tech companies and the anticipated profits. However, it's unclear how such an arrangement would be structured without significantly deepening the federal government's role in the private sector, which has long been an anathema to Republicans. Okay, so that's very interesting. They're talking about deepening the federal government's role in the private sector. Okay, now this is my first time reading it. I haven't even actually read it yet, but just off the title, okay, we can already tell that Esau is up to something, right? So this could mean more control, like it says here, deepening the federal government's role in the private sector. All right. Trump first suggested the idea of U.S. And you know what? Let's look this up. Deepening the federal In order for Americans to benefit from AI profits, some fear that this will deepen. Yeah, we'll just try that, see what it says. Here we go. Opponents and free market advocates argue that these interventions are dangerous. They contend that placing government officials on corporate boards or nationalizing ownership will create perverse incentives, politicize technological development, and deter vital private capital information. All right, it's not really going into too much there, but just something to notice. They're saying it could cause more government control in the private sector. But anyway, we're going to continue on. It says Trump first suggested the idea of a U.S. government stake in AI companies as a way to improve AI's lackluster standing among Americans at the beginning of June. Lackluster means lacking of vitality, force, or conviction. Uninspiring, right? Because what? People are tired of those data centers. All right, to the point where they fired shots at one of these AI data center guys, one of the top guys or one of the CEOs or something. They shot at them, put holes in their house, right? You know, and for the most part, the people remain very docile, you know, just protesting peacefully. Okay, but there's coming a point where, you know, these devils know that the people are going to revolt, man. Okay, you can only push people so hard before they revolt. And the scriptures talk about that in 2nd Ezra 15. Let's get that real quick. Start at verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hand. Right, that's your race wars, your class wars. Okay, rich versus poor, poor versus rich. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, right? Nobody's going to care about Donald Trump. Nobody's going to care about their governors, the police. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power, right? People are going to do whatever they think is necessary to survive, okay? And as things become more expensive, that squeeze gets put on the people, right? A lot of these politicians are going to be put to death, okay? And it's happened before. You know, you saw that in Nepal, I believe it was. A prime minister's wife was put to death. Okay, lots of insurrections worldwide. Okay, so you know, these things are not far-fetched, and it could be a means of appeasing the people, but at the same time, it's always going to come with something that's going to bite you in the ass in the long run. It's never just a gift. Esau Edom, the so-called white man, doesn't know how to do good just for the sake of doing good. It always has to come with something that's going to benefit him, okay, and fuck you over, especially Jake. Right, the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, were the target of every, you know, of everything, man. Everything. We're always the first guinea pigs. We're always the main ones who are being targeted by anything malicious, right? Even the jump shot, man. They made a whole article saying blacks, Latinos, Native Americans need to stop being hesitant to take their Maxine Waters, their Jabberwockies, their jump shots. You know what I'm talking about. When C19 was going around, you know, we got to use these code words because, you know, with a channel that speaks so much truth, Esau will target us more. And a lot of our channels have been taken down. Okay, so we got to speak in code, but you know what I mean. But anyway, back to the article. It says, let's see, where were we? Here we go. We were here. So it says there are concepts where pieces could be given to the American public, where the American public essentially becomes a partner with the companies, said Trump, according to Politico. The American people can benefit from the success of AI, and by doing that, they're going to like it better. Okay, and here's a little bit more. We'll read the rest of it. Multiple surveys show mounting skepticism among Americans about AI's benefits due to fears over job losses and frustration with surging electricity bills from an accelerated development of data centers. Right, the electric bills are hitting us. Right, the tax dollars they using to make this shit. All right, or wherever they get that money. I'm not gonna say tax dollars. Maybe it's not necessarily tax dollars, but our tax dollars go to waste anyway. Okay, and we're constantly being robbed by these goddamn CEOs. With these ever stagnating wages, increased cost of living, so on and so forth. All right, but it says on the latter, 7 in 10 Americans are opposed to the presence of a data center near their home, according to the heat map poll. AI is under Washington's spotlight. Notice reported last week that AI's executives were caught off guard by Trump's announcement of a White House meeting. Some CEOs in the AI industry have become more active in Washington as policymakers grapple with how to police the AI industry. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman met with Senator Bernie Sanders in Vermont to discuss AI regulation. All right, that's pretty much it, man. Just wanted to go into a few precepts going in on what this article represents. Okay, never trust thine enemy, man. We're going to get Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed of him, right? Beware of Esau. It says, and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Right? You wipe that glass, you look through it, and you see that rust still. Because him trying to be nice, him saying, we want to share our money with you, want to share our wealth with you, okay, is just a means of, him trying to get something from you. Okay, he wipes that rust, but guess what? That rust is going to come back. Because it's in his nature to be evil, man. All right, it says, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, right? Not if, when he has overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Right? So you got to understand his nature, man. All right? Esau does everything he does that's good is just so he can do something even more evil. Okay? It's a means to an end. It's a stepping stone. Okay? And let's grab Psalms 10 and 3. It says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom Yahweh abhorreth. Right, the wicked, they boast of their heart's desire. What's some of their heart's desires, man? To increase their riches, become immortals, travel the stars, go to space. Right, Elon Musk was there was a lot of articles talking about him being a trillionaire. Right, I'm sure he talked about it with a big grin on his face. Right, and what is this whole society about? It's about capitalism. Right, so it says, and blessed the covetous. Right, that the covetousness is key to understanding what it means, man. Let's get Psalms 10 and 3 in the blue letter real quick. All right, let's get this word covetous. That's the 10th commandment. It says, thou shalt not covet. H12:14, basa, and it means to cut off, break off. Here we go, gain by unrighteous violence. Okay, that's what it is, man. Okay, to gain wrongfully or by violence. Okay, how did the so-called white man gain America? Through bloodshed, through trickery, through lies, through deceit, through rape, robbery, murder, making promises and then breaking them. What are they doing to this day? The same thing. They can't even make an agreement with Iran. Okay, they want to continue to do their foolishness over there in the Middle East, right? That's why Habakkuk chapter 2 says he keepeth not at home, man. All right, covetous. What does it mean to be a covetous, man? It says gain greedily, right? You're being greedy, right? That's why Paul said, how will I know lust if I didn't know about thou shalt not covet? Roughly paraphrasing. Because to lust after another man's woman is to be greedy. The Lord will give you a woman. Why do you got to take your brother's woman? Why do you got to take your neighbor's woman? Okay, that's Esau, man. Esau is like that guy that wants to have all the women and everybody else have nothing. You know? And you could get you a big Shirley and Esau will still be like, nah, let me take her. I don't even want her, but I just don't want you to have it. You know, that's the spirit of Esau, man. That's capitalism, hoarding wealth. That's why you got homeless people out here, right? But you got all these billion-dollar corporations throwing away millions of tons of food into the trash for a tax write-off, right? And they say, well, they can't just give it away. We got to make money, right? So they got to create artificial scarcity. That's why it says, and blesseth the covetous, right? Because to make it in this society, you got to be a greedy piece of shit. All the guys up there at the top, all these billionaires and millionaires are covetous. They're greedy. You don't need billions of dollars, man. There shouldn't be any billionaires in this society, man. Okay? Nobody is working hard enough to make $1 billion. Nobody is providing enough value to make a billion fucking dollars, man. And these corporations, they look like they're creating value, but what they're doing is they're cutting corners and making inferior products, and they have a monopoly on all these products to the point where if somebody wants to set up a mom and pop shop, or you know what they call it, a mom and pop shop, and sell natural food and products that actually work, okay, you won't be able to, man, because these giant corporations, they own all the they own I forgot, watch the documentary, man, on how the Rockefellers gained their power, man. And they monopolized, and the way they do it is through vertical and horizontal integration. You can look that up. You know, basically, when you have a business that's big, you know, you got to buy products from other businesses. But what they'll do is they'll buy all those businesses and they'll control every step of the process. And so if you set up a mom and pop, you still got to buy products from other companies to make your product. But this other big ass company, they make all their own shit. So how could you ever compete with them? Their product's going to be cheaper than yours, and they're going to make way more money than you. They're going to treat their workers like shit, barely pay them. Okay? And they're going to maximize their profit. That's how you make money in this world. Okay? This is why this country sucks. And this is why this whole world sucks, because this is the headquarters of this empire, America, right? The power structure of America is NATO and the EU, which is the beast, but America is the spearhead. Okay, and just like America does it, the whole world is basically in that same spirit of being covetous, being greedy, me. So, you know, that's the spirit that these people are in. So how would you ever be stupid enough to believe a word they say, you know, unless the Lord ain't dealing with you? And that's why we bring these precepts out, to show you how Esau is. He's that covetous, envious, greedy bastard. Okay, let's get Sirach 14, and we're going to start let's see here. Let's start in verse 3. It says, riches are not comely for a Niggard. Let's get this word Niggard in the etymology. Niggard, mean or stingy person. Miser, right? You stingy, okay? It says, riches are not comely for a Niggard, or somebody who is stingy, right? And that's the spirit they're all in, man. You got Elon Musk, who's a trillionaire, but I guarantee you, if somebody asked him for even a $1,000, he's not gonna give it up. Somebody who actually needed it, okay? Unless there's a big camera pointed at his face and they could plaster it all over the internet and make him look like a great guy. Oh, look at me, I'm a philanthropist, right? Isn't that what these that demon Jacob's Rothschild called himself, a philanthropist? His life was dedicated to giving to charity. You know, but does that money actually go to people that need it? Or is it a system that's set up to really put it back into their own pockets? All right. It says, riches are not comely for a niggard. And what should an envious man do with money? They don't do anything with it, man. Here they are. They have all this power, all this money, all this wealth. They haven't created anything useful. Right? They haven't cured cancer. They haven't come up with free energy. Okay, they're still burning oils in car engines, man. You know, we got all this technology, but they can't come up with how to end world hunger. And, you know, it's like they're just wasting their rulership away, man. That's why the Lord calls these Edomites the basest of men, the lowest of men. Okay? And we know what their goal is ultimately, man, is to have even more power through the chip that MOTB for buying and selling is going to be mandatory very soon. Okay? And so, you know, this universal high income and sharing AI profits with the population is just a means to basically have control over you. Because once all your money is coming from them and AI takes the rest of these jobs, it's a seamless transition, man. Think about it. AI is taking all the jobs, and at the same time, Trump wants to now give people money that's coming from AI because you're not going to have a job. Okay, but then what comes with that money from AI? Terms and conditions. Okay, so it's something to gain control over you people, man. Okay? But anyway, let's get back to the point. Verse 4, he that gathereth by defrauding his own soul gathereth for others, right? Because this Edomites, they're gathering all this wealth. But at the end, the Lord, Yahushua, is coming back. He's going to put these devils under our feet. And this kingdom is going to be translated to the Israelites. So this devil Esau is gathering all these riches in vain, man. They're not even enjoying their rulership. They just working themselves to death, trying to get this NWO, man. You know, it's all in vain. It's no point. It says, that shall spend his goods riotously. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? Okay, he shall not take pleasure in his goods, right? He don't even care about his own self, man. Here they are poisoning the water, the food, and the air, just to make some more profit and keep the people dumbed down. Okay, but it's like he's fucking up his own environment. Right? He's fucking up his own people because a lot of these things that they've targeted Jake with, you know, like we could think about these unhealthy foods that are out here in the that were targeted towards Jake. You know, this wicked music that makes Jake want to rap about death and gangbanging and all this dumb shit. Hey, a lot of these Edomites are getting caught up in it, man. All right, so it's like it's no point, man. Okay, he's fucking his own self up. He doesn't care about his own self. Let's see, where are we? Lost my place. Here we go. Verse 6, there is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is a recompense of his wickedness. You know, I mean, you got people like Warren Buffett. That motherfucker's a billionaire, but he dresses in like the cheapest clothes. He still has this old ass car from way long ago. He still lives in a small ass house. He got all that money. He's just living like he's broke. You know, and there's nothing wrong with not blowing money. I'm not telling brothers to blow money but I'm telling you, man, it's like, don't be stingy. You know, that's another lesson here that you can gather from this whole chapter is don't be stingy. Enjoy your money. If you work hard for your money, go buy you a little something. Okay, not to waste it, but hey, the scripture says all is vanity, man. So what point is there to gather all this fucking money and you gonna die anyway? But anyway, that's just the way Esau is. Verse 7. And if he do good, we're going to give you AI profits. We're going to give you universal high income. And if he do good, he doeth it unwillingly. And at the last, he will declare his wickedness, right? And you people are going to see it. When you get your free paychecks, you think, oh man, see, that's what we needed. We needed AI. Now everything's going to be the perfect utopia. That's when these devils going to really come down on you with more draconian measures and, start throwing people in concentration camps and mandate that chip. All right, then you're really going to see what we were saying, that Esau, Edom is the devil. You're really going to believe it in that day. For you Israelites out there that are still hard-headed, thinking it's all a game. All right. And that's pretty much all I wanted to go into today, man. Just something quick, going into how this is just another scheme. Keep an eye out, Akim. Watch under prayer. Keep watching these prophecies. There's a lot going on right now, every day. All right, more than we can cover. Okay, but don't get your hopes up with this, Akim out there. Get your hopes up with the fact that we're one step closer to our enemy Esau's downfall, man. Okay, because this is another scheme to get that NWO set up with that chip, and everything being in that draconian surveillance state, which involves that chip in order to buy and sell. Okay, the closer we get to that, the closer we are to the return of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai. So with that, I want to finish by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem HaKodash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful like this out there, listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom wa. Abad babal shalom.